Today I'm going to show you kind of a fun way to freeze dry your onions, or a fun way to seal them actually. But we have a whole bunch of onions from our garden and we've eaten through them throughout the winter, but we still have quite a few left. So I went ahead and freeze dried them, and I'm going to show you some tips and tricks on freeze drying onions, and then also this cool little gadget. It's called a brake bleeder, and basically how to seal your bottles with a brake bleeder, because you don't need electricity using that. And of course I have used a regular jar sealer, but I really like this option too. Here are the onions freeze dried. I'll let you know how we got to this point. Freeze drying is one of the best ways to preserve your food. It maintains most of the nutrition, and you have a longer shelf life of about 25 years depending on how you package them. I'll probably package them in some Mylar bags. Anyway, so these, look how nice, they're in great condition still, but we just want to freeze dry them before they start to sprout out. So as you can see, I've prepped a lot of the onions, have them in my chopper, my Bosch chopper here. And I'm just going to turn this on for a second and start chopping these onions. There. Then I'm going to remove this lid. And then, as you can see, we've got lots of chopped onions in there. So I've prepped some of these trays here. We're gonna go ahead and put the onions on the trays. I have 5 trays here, and I have a large freeze dryer. So, and these will go into the freezer. I like to pre-freeze all of my food. And then, after it's frozen, then you put it in the freeze dryer. So I'll do 5 trays, put it in the freezer, pop it in that freeze dryer, and then I'll show you the finished product when it's done. So this is just one way to preserve your food. There are lots of different ways. This is my favorite way. And you can get your freeze dryers through Harvest Right. And enjoy your garden, vegetables and produce all year long. I am now working on putting my onions in some jars. And I really like cooking with onions. I do a lot of cooking, and I don't like to chop onions. It's like one of my favorite things to have. And I like putting them in these jars simply because I'm going to use them. If I were wanting a little longer shelf life, I would put them in some Mylar bags with an oxygen absorber, of course. And these are the oxygen absorbers that I use from Harvest Right. And I tamp this down, and then we'll go ahead and seal it. And I'll show you how we seal them. But look, didn't they come out beautifully? Right out of the freeze dryer. I like to over dry my onions. So, or actually everything. I like to over dry everything just to make sure you have no damp, cold spots in your food. These dried for about 40 hours in my freeze dryer. And then of course you can see they came out nice and dry. And I've done 2 trays so far. So each tray filled a quart, and I tamped it down because I like to get the pieces smaller, and you fit more in a jar if you do that. So I tamped it down a little bit to kind of crush the onions and to have smaller pieces. So far I've got 2 quarts, and I'm going to do 2 more quarts, and then probably 2 pints with the last one. I want to introduce you to something pretty cool. We're now going to seal these jars, and typically I will use an automatic sealer of sorts, but here is a great option if you by any chance don't have electricity. It's called a brake bleeder, and of course Any mechanic has something like this. You can get it at a hardware store or whatever, but these are called brake bleeders, and it's a great way to do some sealing without having electricity. So I just want to show you. This is a wide mouth lid sealer. Put the lids on top after I put the oxygen absorbers in, of course. And then we just put the brake bleeder right here, and then you pump it. And isn't that cool? You can see that the dial is going up. And you just keep pumping it till it gets to the correct pressure, which is, I like to go between 10 and 15, but I go beyond 10. It can make your hands a little bit tired, but I love this option of being able to seal them without electricity. So we're at least 10. I'm gonna let this pop off. You could hear that seal. Now I'm just going to take the lid off, and you'll be able to see that this is sealed. Cool, huh? Totally sealed, oxygen absorber in there. Now, of course, I'm using these pretty soon, within the year. And if I didn't use them within a few years, I would want to put them in the Mylar bags. Simply because that gives you a longer shelf life. Anytime you have light hitting the food, or oxygen, or even water, then that's going to deplete your shelf life. So there you are. I'm going to seal the rest of these jars. As I seal the regular mouth lids, I have to actually put another regular mouth lid inside of this one. Otherwise it won't seal properly. I found that out the hard way. But this is kind of a cool trick. You just put another lid inside, and then you place it here on top, and then you just proceed to do the same thing that I just showed you before.